Good morning, everyone. I've got to say this is probably the best venue I've ever presented in. My favourite definition of a good speaker is someone who doesn't send anyone who's already awake asleep and doesn't waken up anyone who's asleep. So if I can fulfil my brief by covering those parts of the agenda, then I'll be really pleased. Today I'm going to give broadband from a mobile perspective, as you would imagine. As part of the Telefónica group, we view the UK business as at the forefront of the innovation in the mobile industry, probably along with Brazil. We take the UK and Brazil as probably at the leading edge for the rest of our businesses globally. With two main markets in Latin America and Europe, we see the different sides of our industry sector, and actually, quite interestingly, the innovations in both are helping feed each other. Today I'll predominantly talk about the UK, but see that as a forerunner for innovation across the wider Telefónica group. Okay, the problem with talking about stats and statistics from the UK market, having followed George Osborne, Ian Livingston and many of the speakers this morning, is most of the stats that you wanted to use have already been used. But interestingly, what Mr. Osborne was talking about is how the UK is a heartbeat of innovation and the UK population at the forefront of online usage. And interestingly, Ian Livingston talked about telecoms being two-thirds of the price of the UK, two-thirds of the price of the US. I guess those two things, and the third statistic, which is that we lead the industry in terms of smartphone penetration, sets a number of the dynamics that we see in the UK industry. The graph on your right is a real signal of how data is growing relative to revenue. Predominantly built from the evolution and development of smartphones in our industry. The smartphone growth over a period is clear to see, and that hasn't abated recently. So in the last 18 months, the average usage of smartphone has doubled. In fact, Ofcom recently published a survey which said that 40% of mobile users accessed the internet in Q1 of 2012, that's 32 million people, against 11% in the same period in 2009. In fact, the smartphone is driving a different way in which customers connect to each other. So we already know that text has overtaken voice, with 58% of people saying that they keep in touch via text, against 47% for voice. But the interesting statistic is that 32% of people tend to keep in touch using social networks. And that's a real evolution of how the smartphone has adopted the way that people basically communicate. So given that usage against revenue paradigm, I guess the big challenge for our industry is how we as a sector effectively join the dots of growth, smartphone penetration, to ensure that we get the best out of investments on fixed and mobile broadband to deliver a seamless set of communications experiences for consumers, businesses and UK PLC. From our perspective, I guess that falls into two basic categories. Firstly, how do you build a network that's cost efficient and effective, that reaches customers throughout the UK, whether they're indoors or out? And secondly, and probably most importantly, how do you develop a suite and set of innovative new services that customers truly value, that exploits that proliferation of the smartphones in the UK? As we stand today, I think this challenge is a real catalyst for change. There's going to be more change in our industry in the next 3 years than there has been in the last 25. That in itself, I don't think is a terrifically bold statement to make, but I guess it's a real indication that the pace at which the whole industry sector is looking and how it evolves its position, its relationships and its capability as it steps up to the massive explosion in data growth. So let's deal with those two topics one by one. Firstly, the provision of efficient networks. We recently announced a network sharing deal with Vodafone to pull the basic parts of our network infrastructure to create a national grid of about 18,500 sites that allows both companies to work effectively on the grid but independently manage the experience and the spectrum while still continuing to compete on products and services and capabilities that we deliver to our customers. That deal also helps us close the digital divide between rural and urban areas, targeting a 98% delivery of indoor coverage to the population in the next 3 years. For those not familiar with the industry, 98% indoor coverage is a significant step forward. After some 27 years of mobile, we do have 98% outdoor coverage, but that equates, depending on how you measure it, to the low 90s, 91, 92 indoor coverage. So 98, even for just basic coverage, will bring coverage to parts of the population that don't see it today. More interestingly, for 3G, again, depending on how you measure, but indoor coverage for 3G after some 12 years is probably in the late 60s to early 70% of the population. So to commit to deliver 98% indoor population of data services, again, is a significant step forward. I think what that effectively delivers is ubiquitous data access for almost all of the population, a significant step forward. On top of that deal, we'll also use that as a platform for us to deliver the 4G rollout of the network, probably faster than we could do individually by working together in the deal that we've got. So our commitment to broadband everywhere from a mobile perspective is very clear, and the pace at which it's going to move is fairly significant indeed. The next slide, whilst I'm not going to go through an evolution of technology by TLA, I just wanted to say the other interesting thing that will happen, apart from ubiquitous data access, is the power that 4G will bring. We're somewhere between the UMTS and the LTE speed using HSDPA, but the significant step forward that LTE will bring is a real change in the capability of services that can be delivered right throughout the UK. LTE will fundamentally allow multimedia-rich services and products to be both delivered and consumed by customers on a ubiquitous coverage level. It also allows the delivery of real-time services. So I guess ubiquitous coverage and the power of 4G creates, which I think is a really significant opportunity. You couple that with the powerful consumer devices and the bring your own device evolution of how businesses now operate that Ian Livingston talked about earlier, I think is an opportunity that transcends the standard internet model of today. And that opportunity for businesses is beyond just the growth and productivity that I think mobility offers the UK market today. It changes the model of which businesses can talk to their customers. It gives a much more direct route to speak to your customers, to be relevant to your customers, not just by brand, but by location, by time of day, and by preference. And I think it will set up new business models in which businesses will collaborate together to reach customers wherever they are over mobile broadband networks. From a public services point of view, I think there's a real opportunity for a step change in the way that public services are delivered, be that education, be that social care, be that healthcare. Having a set of always connected customers with the power and ubiquitous coverage, I think is a real opportunity to change the way government and public services are delivered today. Finally, for customers, it offers a whole set of new possibilities, with businesses trying to get a more direct route to each individual and public services being much more readily available. I think what it offers every individual, with the security of knowing that their data transactions are safe, is a real ability to consume and relate to the people and things that matter to you most in a completely different way. It also offers the flexibility and quality of life to work completely differently. In our business in the UK, we closed our headquarters down for a day to practice flexible working and operated effectively with absolutely no one in our HQ. In my team, I have a team of 1,700 engineers. We are doing minimal travel in the last quarter of the year. Minimal travel, whilst it has cost benefits, is much more about how do we learn to adapt and use the technology that's available to be as effective at running our business as we do by travelling, by not travelling, and in the same time changing the quality of life that our people have in terms of their relationship to their home life and everything else. So a combination of those three things, I think, is a massive opportunity for this industry. I guess what I'm seeing by those opportunities combining is a interrelated ecosystem that covers finance, government, health, your own data, your ability to securely as an individual navigate around a whole interrelated set of services and companies that ultimately gives the individual the choice and the value to conduct their life in a way that mobile hasn't delivered in the past. Let me just take a couple of examples on what that kind of thing could look like. Let me talk about machine-to-machine. I think machine-to-machine on a mobile sense has been around for a number of years now, particularly in vending machines and transport in terms of tracking. But what's been happening in transport recently now is that the machine-to-machine capability is making a marked difference in the efficiency of transport fleets. We have a customer who's using technology with us, and they've seen a 23% improvement in efficiency by using technology in the cars to educate the drivers to drive much more effectively, both in terms of the consumption of fuel, but also the protection of the vehicle. And that company's been incentivising their drivers in terms of reward to behave much more effectively. So a real evolution of where machine-to-machine is going. Just imagine what that would be like if we could transfer that level of efficiency to how individuals drive on the roads today. And that technology is also being now used in insurance. So there's adverts now on the television about how certain things placed in cars that monitor how people drive will dictate how much people pay for insurance. So now good drivers will be rewarded for the way that they drive, not just the type of car or the area that they live in. So I think real machine-to-machine technology helping to improve both the economics but also the quality of life. And that evolves into smart metering. We use smart meters right through our networks. We have thousands of base stations spread all over the country. We've been using smart meters now for a number of years, and we've seen a real marked improvement in the efficiency of how we can consume energy across a broad part. Now, there's a government exercise to manage smart meters right throughout everybody's home. I think that, again, will be a significant step forward in broadband everywhere to drive real efficiency in how people consume power in their homes. I guess the last example I wanted to use was one of health. Health is my only political slide in the whole pack. Health is, again, an interesting opportunity for the power and ubiquitous capability of having always connected to change the dynamics of delivery of health. And I guess they come in three forms. Firstly, we're working with West Lothian, with their health people, to just make the whole process more efficient. Imagine how effective it can be to improve the 70% hit rate on people actually making appointments by having an SMS service that reminds people when their appointments are and getting them to confirm whether or not they're going to turn up. And also by helping travelling healthcare people capture data at the point of entry to eliminate unnecessary travel where they try and find a hotspot or go back to an office to download the data and rekey the information that they captured when they were dealing with customers. That can be patients. That can happen right at the point of interaction. In the Isle of Skye and the Outer Hebrides, we're using our technology to do remote diagnosis and remote care of patients. Because if you live in the islands of Scotland, a visit to the hospital is a 2 or 3 day event, not just a horrendous parking trial that everyone near a hospital suffers. And by working with the island and the hospitals, we're able to eliminate a great use of health professionals, but also people's time and energy. And then lastly, from a health point of view, we've just launched something that we're calling Help at Hand. Help at Hand is a mobile product that's either a pendant or a wristwatch that allows a telecare 24-hour service for either vulnerable or people of ill health to have their own independence under the security of wherever they are and whatever they're doing. They can be either contact directly, or if they're not where they had planned to be, for a care service to interact directly to them and to keep them in touch with their relatives. So again, a real evolution, the first of its kind in the UK, of products and services using mobility to help change the dynamics in the health service. So let me just close by saying, I think over the next few years we are going to see more change in this industry than we have in the last 25. The development of services, I think, is the key. Whilst we're going to see tremendous changes in the technology, I think that continues to drive the usage, but it's the development of services that I think is going to make a real difference to how businesses, officials and people interact with broadband on the move. I believe we'll see new business models. In fact, in our industry, we need to radically change the relationships we have, both with the development and innovation community, wherever that is in the globe, but also with some of our other industry partners and some other partners to work together to deliver services directly to customers. That ecosystem of interrelated services with always connected and powerful devices, I think, will evolve rapidly over the next 3 years. In terms of Telefónica, I've already said that we see this market as a leading player in innovation. Our global data services business, Telefónica Digital, is based here in the UK, and that's a real indication of how we see London and the UK as being an important part of the evolution of data services right throughout the globe. We launched Wira. Wira is a technology incubator based here in London, which helps young start-up technology businesses to really grow. We launched that just over 4 weeks ago, and we've already interacting with 1,000 small businesses and small innovative technology businesses to help incubate and grow here in the UK. And also the lab that I'm responsible for as part of my remit in the UK is a way of changing the world of telco. They're separate from any of my technology development, because they look at how we can develop using the platforms that telecommunications bring, innovative and fast-moving services that are developed in hours, not days or weeks. So I see a significant change on the horizon for the broadband industry specifically, but particularly for mobile, and particularly here in the UK. Thank you.